Welcome to Central News for Tuesday the 9th of September. I'm Hilary Entwistle. The doors of the Tauranga Moana Night Shelter are officially open and what members of the Shelters Trust are labelling the start of something special for the city. The former Youth Hostel Association building in Lower Elizabeth Street was officially blessed and open in front of about 70 people yesterday. Tauranga Moana Night Shelter Chairman Matt Elliott says it was an incredibly proud moment to stand at the opening and what is the start, the answer of homelessness in the city. He says homelessness is a community-wide issue and this facility far exceeds basic shelter needs for its overnight residents. With over 170 bars, restaurants and cafes throughout the city, Hamilton boasts the highest per capita hospitality choice in New Zealand. And another one has joined the throng. Coffee culture opened last month at 5 Crossroads and brand manager Sasha Coburn explains the decision behind opening in Hamilton as their first North Island store.
We love a challenge and we believe that what we offer is unique in the marketplace, and so we were super excited to come here. We have family ties to the Waikato. I spent some time here as a child and it's really exciting to be back. What we do is we roast our coffee fresh in store. We're here by the roaster. That's a point of difference that we have, and we are really all about communities. So we looked in the Hamilton area and said, where could we go and really provide people with great quality coffee and a fantastically welcoming environment, and that's what we've done, and we're delighted with the response.
The record is as old as he is, but Gretchen swimmer Nathan Capp has broken Daniel Loader's 22-year-old 1500 metre freestyle record at the weekend. Capp was in a league of his own, taking 16 seconds off the long-standing record in a time of 14:38.74 on Saturday at the New Zealand Short Course Championships in Wellington. The win qualifies him for December's FINA World Short Course Championships, going under the qualifying time of 14:47.16. The 22-year-old, who broke the national short course 800 metre freestyle record recently, is delighted after missing out on qualifying for the Commonwealth Games. A modern feature library in Hamilton CBD is one of the main points of a Hamilton Library strategic plan now out for public feedback. Working Group Chairman Councillor Andrew King says the draft plan is the culmination of several months' work and discussion by the Library Strategic Plan Working Group and members of the Hamilton City Libraries management team. He says Hamilton City Libraries would also be transformed into community hubs of creativity, literacy and learning. Members of the public now have 3 weeks to provide their feedback on the plan, with displays at all 6 of Hamilton Public's libraries, plus a number of community houses. The stars may not be aligned, but the moon, earth and sun are correctly in line for a supermoon tonight. A supermoon is defined as a new or full moon which occurs with the moon at or near within 90% of its closest approach to Earth in a given orbit, meaning when the Earth, moon and sun are all in line and the moon is in its nearest approach to Earth. Usually quite a rare phenomenon. This is the third this year, with a previous one in July and another in August. But you better look out for this one, as there will not be another one until September 2015. Now for the marine forecast, west coast, Raglan, northeasterly 15 knots and your high tide is at 10:48 in the morning. East coast Bay of Plenty, northeast 10 knots, cloudy periods out there. The high tide is at 7:37 a.m. Just ahead, elections and the youth vote. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. With the election upon us, Tony Stevens from Get Out and Vote talks to Amanda Harper about how important it is to cast your vote, especially for the youth of our regions.
Tony, what is it about the general election 2014 that seems to get everybody so fired up? What's different this time?
I think, something is different this time. It's really heated up. I mean, you have to look to that dirty politics thing. This is unprecedented in New Zealand political history, I think. I mean, it's happened in other places around the world. You could point back to the Watergate case. People are drawing similarities between that. You know, it's not nice to draw a similarity between New Zealand and a very corrupt time in American politics. So I think that's really changed things up. But people have gotten vicious about it, especially on social media as well.
They have, and especially the people that may be sort of pro the government at the moment, they kind of originally thought, oh, it's just going to blow over. But it hasn't. We're a few weeks on and it's still top news.
Yeah, absolutely. Every day there's something new. And I think the media kind of feels a bit pipped at the gate, so they're a bit frustrated that they never got any of these scoops that all went to whale oil and Cameron Slater. So they're annoyed and they're going for it, I guess. So yeah, that's why we're seeing it so often, you know, and a new thing seems to come out every day as well. So
it's a developing story, that's for sure, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a landmark moment in New Zealand politics when we look back at it in the future, and from future elections, I don't think there'll ever be anything like it again.
It's going to go down in history, isn't it?
Yeah, and people are getting nasty. You know, I spend a bit of time on social media, as most people my age do, and I am using it as a gangplank to talk about politics, get people engaged with the voting process, put my own opinions forth, and some people are getting a bit desperate and are getting a bit nasty, and it's not really nice to see, but it is also good to see people being really passionate about their beliefs as well.
That's true, but then there is a certain level of negativity that does surround politics. I mean, you've got smear campaigning, and people don't even have a positive opinion when they think of our government and how it's run. Like, why is that? What needs to change?
What needs to change? Well, I mean, it's good that this has been exposed, I think, and that should hopefully be a catalyst for change, because it's not good enough that, I mean, I don't care what anyone thinks about dirty politics and the laws that have been broken in terms of the hacking and that sort of thing. Of course that is wrong, but we can't have people elected into positions of power betraying the public's trust and doing those sorts of things. So hopefully this is a lesson for the future.
They do need to be held accountable for their actions and for all this behind the scenes things that are going on.
It's our money that they are receiving. You know, we pay our taxes as workers and contributors to New Zealand society, and they get huge salaries to do good work for the community. So yeah, we've got every right to be annoyed.
They do. And also, do you feel that people actually trust in our government?
I think that trust has been severely undermined recently. But I mean, there's always, to an extent, been a mistrust towards people in power, politicians, but it has gone up to the next level in this election, hasn't it? I mean, everyone's noticed that. I mean, we always have to be a little bit sceptical about people in power. Yeah, definitely. It's not nice to see, because there are a lot of honest politicians doing excellent work. My father's a politician, you know, locally, and he has dabbled in national politics as well, and I consider him a good, honest politician, regardless of his views. And there are plenty of other politicians out there doing good work, but power always corrupts certain individuals. So.
And also, if you look at the smaller parties, you know, and they're out there campaigning to get the party vote, so they've got more influence. I mean, in a larger scale, how much influence do they even really have?
I think they have quite a big influence, yeah. And the MMP, you know, there are criticisms of it, but it does allow those minor parties to contribute and to have an influence. I mean, we're talking about people being kingmakers, and we're talking about parties having to go into coalition to form governments. You know, having a multi-party coalition government, that's democracy. That's more than one party and one policy platform meeting to join their views and to, you know, represent different parts of New Zealand. So they definitely do have an influence. And you can see, I mean, I don't know how people think about the Conservative Party, but you can see people getting concerned when they're polling quite high and things like that. So there is, you know, people do, even if they're just getting a small proportion of the vote, they do either scare people or make people happy or have an influence on the political sphere, yeah.
And also with the political sphere, social media, you did mention it before. How important is it for politicians, for parties to use social media?
It's crucial. Yeah, it's absolutely vital that they maintain a presence and visibility. Young people, myself, I spend far too much time online on social media, hours a day, and there's people a lot worse than me, or I don't want to say worse, but spending more time than I am on multiple social media platforms, and it is a way to disseminate information very quickly to large audiences, global audiences even.
But then it can also encourage sort of negativity, keyboard warriors and whatnot.
The keyboard warrior, yes. The advent of the keyboard warrior has been a pretty interesting development with social. Yeah, I mean, you can't avoid that, but it is still a useful and vital tool that politicians need to get their head around, and they haven't got around it yet. They haven't learned how to properly engage people with it, but they're starting to catch on.
They need more young people in there that's a bit more technically savvy.
You look at how popular the Internet Party has been with young people. Yeah. So, and they're really a strong example of a party that's using social media extensively. And can you imagine a party that avoided it totally? How their effect would be? It
wouldn't work.
It would diminish. Yeah.
Yeah. No. So, and at the end of the day, we've all got to get out there and vote the next election.
Right. Yeah.
Remember to vote on September the 20th. Coming up next, the Great Galahar Race. Welcome back to Central News. The Galahar Great Race is coming up very soon, and New Zealand's best young rowing talent is set to compete in the iconic Hamilton race, which is now in its 13th year. Men's coach Ross Tong has selected and coached the illustrious crew for the past 8 years. He spoke with Anne-Marie recently and explained why he thinks this year's crew is the strongest yet.
On paper, it's strongest. It's really simply because we've got most of the athletes have rowed at under 23 level. So, but with experience on the river, there's only 4 of last year's crew in the race. So, and the coxswain, which is vital. So, on paper, yes, very strong. As the athletes, but with the river experience not that strong, so it's still quite exciting.
The Galahar Great Race has become an iconic event in Hamilton, and we hear a lot about the fact that the race is against the current, that it's a long race. It's totally different to lake racing, isn't it? Absolutely.
Iconic. It's a fantastic event. It's a rowing event that is unlike anything else. It was similar to the boat race over in England, but they row with the current. Against the current makes different, where you can be a metre off line and you can be 5-10 seconds slower. It's huge. It's on the river, on the Lake Karapiro. It's fair. It's, as we mentioned earlier, it's a gentleman's sport. Fair racing, you all the best. On the river, it's not. It's unfair. It's a pub fight almost, it's a brawl, and the more we can get out there, more supporters we can get out there, with the way the river's been developed, and the cycleways now alongside, there's some fantastic vantage points all the way along with the bridges, with the big screen at the finish. But I know the athletes, you get the course rowing where you can't hear the crowds. Even Olympics, world champs, you're in the zone, you're focused on that, and so you don't hear the crowds. Whereas this, you're so close to the crowds, and because you need to be aware of what's happening around you, instead of just thinking about your boat. You've got to think what the other crews are doing. So that's where the supporters on the bank can make a huge difference, and those cowbells ringing, it's fantastic for the boys.
You're absolutely correct. It's a spectator sport, and it's a real battle on the river. How big a part is the spectators to the crew, and where do you think that the best place is for the spectators to stand?
Oh, look, all the way along the course. Right at the start at Ann Street there, you can get right down really close to the action. The crew right in against the bank, you're probably less than 4 or 5 metres from them. on a normal rain course, you can't do that. It is a battle. And the more the spectators get involved, particularly for us, the better it is. So the more people we can get down there all the way through, with the cycleways now that have been developed, it's just fantastic. And every vantage point is, if we can fill that with people with cowboys yelling and screaming, it helps the guys, just do whatever's necessary to win.
This is your 9th year as coach. Why is this year so special for you?
They raced for the Harry Martin Trophy, and Harry was a pretty special guy for me. He was one of the coaches I had, and probably, dare I say, my first coach was my father, so I shouldn't say Harry was the most important one, but he was. He probably brought me along the furthest. And he unfortunately passed away with cancer. And so that's hence we raced for the Harry Martin Trophy. This year, my sister-in-law has unfortunately been diagnosed with cancer, so for me it's pretty special that we're rowing for an event that was, Harry is iconic to Waikato, iconic to Hamilton, and this event. And so for my sister-in-law, just to do something like that and to be involved is pretty special for me.
What do you know about the competition, Harvard and Melbourne?
Harvard have got 2 or 3 New Zealand guys in it. Don't think they've rowed on the river, hopefully. Look, I don't know a lot about them. Melbourne have been here before, came and got beaten. And that, I know as an athlete and as a coach, that's never nice. So I'm sure they'll come back stronger and better. Harvard, yeah, look, they're got a rowing dynasty over there, which is very strong.
And they got beaten last time they were here, 2007. So do you think there's a score to settle?
Absolutely. Look, they did get beaten, and I suppose this is where the river makes it exciting. They brought a very, very strong crew, and I think had they raced on the lake, they probably would have beaten us. But that's where the crowd came out that day, and it was fantastic. And the river, and we could put ourselves in a position where we ended up beating them. So all bodes well for another exciting race this year.
Is there one secret weapon that you've got well, I suppose you can't tell us if it's secret, but what's up your sleeve? On the day it's all going to be happening. What are you going to pull out?
Look, the river changes all the time. It ebbs and flows all the time. The basic movement doesn't change of the river, but in saying that, I get out the morning of the race and we actually don't make our final decisions until probably an hour or so before the race. But in saying that, the coxswain and the stroke still, that could change. So it's I suppose a big part of it's being adaptable. And as I said, it's not just about your boat, it's what's happening around you and everything else. So our big secret weapon is home crowd.
Just ahead, Warm Our Whare's initiative and your weather for tomorrow. Welcome back. A health initiative seeking to reduce respiratory disease and rheumatic fever amongst at-risk children has seen more than 1,000 homes in Hamilton and the South Waikato receive free floor and ceiling insulation through the Warm Our Whare project. Anne-Marie spoke with Te Puna Oranga General Manager Dietri Tamatia to find out more about the Warm Our Whare initiative.
Well, Warm Our Whare is basically an initiative that's tied into Project 270, and Project 270 looks to combat or mitigate the effects of child poverty and whānau poverty within the Waikato DHB district. And that initiative actually comprises of about 3 different strategies, one of which is to look at healthy homes. And so Warm Our Whare is basically putting in free home insulation into the floors and the ceilings of homes for high needs families. Basically you're looking at families that actually have a community services card, so they're low income. They are actually families that live in a home that was built before 2000, because those homes actually prior to that, or after that rather, actually have insulation in it. And you're looking at families that actually have kids under the age of 17, or actually adults who are over the age of 65, so vulnerable by either being very young or old, and also having a health condition in the home is important. And if you're actually a person who rents a home, you can apply, but you need to have the approval of your landlord. And if you actually own the home, you can apply for the insulation as well. The initiative is actually run out through Hamilton City and 30 k's out from Hamilton City, including Ngaruawahia and Huntly, but also throughout South Waikato, through Tikawiti, Tokoroa, out through Te Taumananui.
How are the at-risk children and homes identified?
Well, there's a couple of ways that you can get access to the program. The first is we're looking at our patient management system, and we're actually identifying children that have rheumatic fever or respiratory conditions that are coming in and out of hospital several times over the last 12 months. And we're actually contacting those children's families, and we're actually asking them, would you like to apply? Do you meet the criteria? And if they do, on both counts, we actually put their application through to be considered for assessment. The assessors go out after a while, assess the home, and if indeed they do meet all the criteria, then they can get the insulation installed thereafter. And so you can actually get it through our patient management system, but you can also apply straight from the community if you meet those criteria, which is home built before 2000, children in the household 17 years or under or over the age of 65, an adult, and you have community services card, and if you're renting, you have the approval of your landlord, and you sit within the geographical areas that we actually target in the initiative.
What changes are you seeing once insulation is installed?
Well, I suppose we're seeing that the home's becoming drier and warmer, basically because the insulation allows people to heat their homes and to retain heat within the homes, and because the homes are becoming warmer and drier, they're more healthier. And so the benefits to the children and the wider family or whānau that live in this household is that they actually have better health. So that's well researched at an international level. If you have a warm, healthy, dry home, you're going to have less health problems in that home. So that's the reason why we're doing it. It's all about trying to get an upstream investment in wellness, and it's also about trying to reduce down the numbers of people that are actually being admitted to our hospitals for conditions that actually are preventable.
Further information on the Warm Awhare and Pepe Pod initiatives can be found at waikatodhb.health.nz/Te Puna Oranga. Now for our region's weather for Wednesday. Hamilton, you will have cloudy periods with light winds. Your expected high is 16 and an overnight low of 6. The rest of the Waikato, the same for you, cloudy periods with light winds. Paeroa 16 and 8, Matamata 14 and 7, Te Aomutu 16 and 6, and Tokoroa you can expect a high of 14 and an overnight low of 6. Tauranga, cloudy periods with northeasterly breezes. Your expected high is 16 and an overnight low of 9. The rest of the bay, cloudy periods with a northeast breeze. Te Puke, you can expect a high of 14 and an overnight low of 9. That is Central News for today. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can via our Facebook page, centralnews.tv, or email us news@tvcentral.co.nz. Anne-Marie will be here tomorrow night, bringing you more stories from the Waikato and the Bay of Plenty. Until then, though, I'm Hilary Entwistle. I hope you have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.